Hi everyone, this is Smitha Katti and I blog at smilingcolors.com. Welcome to my crafty space. In today's video, I will be using the Fuse Creativity System by Fiskars to press, die cut, and letterpress some cardstock to form a card. To begin with, I have this chocolate brown, well it's more of craft color, it's not a chocolate brown cardstock, that I'm going to make into a card that measures 4¼ by 5½ inches. I've also trimmed a mustard color cardstock to fit slightly within it. Now let's talk about this machine, which is amazing. This comes with multiple medium design sets, and also you need a medium base plate and a medium cutting plate to do the different actions. So today I will be using two of these design sets. I have a tag shape and another square scallopy shape that I'm going to be using. So let's start with the die cutting. I'm going to first do a simple die cutting with this medium design set number 0189. I'm going to be using some paper from Eco Park, and the beauty of the Fuse machine is that you can fit 12 by 12 size paper without cutting it. So if you're a scrapbooker, this is just perfect. So I'm going to layer the paper on top of my die. I'm going to cover it with the medium cutting plate, and then I'm going to run it at an angle through the machine and just turn the handle. Just this sandwich is just enough to do the die cutting, and when this comes out, you're going to see a perfectly cut scallopy shape, which is what we're looking for this card. This particular die, the paper kind of gets stuck in the groove, so you just need to flip the die over, and there's a convenient little hole there. Just pop it out with a cotton swab and the paper is not harmed at all. So this is going to go on the front of our card, but we will deal with that a little later. Now we're going to go and I'm going to walk you through my pressing action. I'm going to use this tag, which is the medium design set 0188. Let me show you. Okay, I'm going to use the 0188 for this. And now each die comes with two press plates, and today I'm going to be using this flower design for the pressing. This is a tag, so basically you can cut a tag out of it and die cut the tag out of it very easily. But I'm going to be using this tag today as not a tag, but I'm going to use it as a pressing plate and press it to form the card front. So the card front, the mustard cardstock that we trimmed earlier, I'm going to be passing this through the machine and pressing this flower in the four corners. So the tag has two flowers which will be pressed, and I'm going to pay more attention to the larger flower which is along the end, and that is what we're going to need for this card. So I have the medium base plate, then you have the press plate with the flower facing up. You layer the cardstock on top of it, and you're going to cover it up with the medium cutting plate. This is the sandwich you need to do the pressing action. You run it through the machine at an angle. This can at times be a little bit loud. You might hear a loud noise, but don't be scared. Everything is fine. And once it comes out, you're going to see this beautiful pressed flower on the paper. Now I'm going to use the tag again on the same piece of cardstock, but this time I'm going to use it on the other corner. Now the center has the small flower, but that is not going to be seen in the card when it's finished, because I'm going to layer something on top of it. I just want to see these larger flowers in the four corners of my card. So now I'm going to use the same sandwich again, the medium base plate. I'm going to layer the press plate with the flower on top. I'm going to layer my cardstock on top of that, and then we're going to have the medium cover plate to complete the sandwich. Again, I'm going to run this through the machine, and you're going to see a similar pressed action this time, but due to the placement of the plate, this time you're going to see the flower is going to be debossed in a way. It's going to be pressed. You're going to see the negative of the pressed flower this side. So on one side you're going to have the positive, and one side you're going to have the negative, and that's really pretty. The center, again, like I said, it's not something that's going to be seen in this card. So even though it's the tag and the press shape is supposed to be a tag, we're not going to use it that way. So you need to flip it over and press the same two flowers on the other two corners of the card. And next we're gonna file the card, as in I'm using some sandpaper to distress the paper a little bit, because this pressed action is so beautiful, it's gonna look wonderful. I've used some coordination cardstock, the Tim Holtz version, and this has two colors, and so with the distressing you can see a lovely double shade here. I'm gonna place a piece of pattern paper that I've trimmed to size over the center of the card, and this is going to cover up the little flowers that we saw that weren't lined up correctly because of the tag design. So once this is done, you're going to see that we're going to place the original die cut that we made initially. We're going to place that in the center. Next, I'm going to use the same tags, but I'm going to use it for a letter pressed action. So I'm going to place this tag in the die that it comes with. And this way we're going to die cut, we're going to press, and we're going to ink the plate. So regularly you just take any fabric covered ink pad and just press it down on the press plate, and that would ink it. But today I'm going to use some watercolors instead to ink my paper, because I don't want a really harsh inked pressed effect. I want a slight washed out watercolor effect. So I'm just mixing two colors here, a light green and a light blue, to get a light aqua color. Again, because this is watercolor, you don't have to be really careful and precise. If the paint kind of runs around, that's all right. Just make sure you're covering the area you want. And I need to press only the small flower here. So I'm just going to place it the same sandwich with the card stuck on top, run it through the machine in an angle. And since the die is present, you're going to see that you have a beautiful die cut tag here, and the pressed flower is now inked with watercolor, and that is what we're looking for the front of the card. Now this is going to go on top of the die cut that we cut earlier, on top of the pressed paper that we already made. But this tag is kind of large and we don't need it to be so big, so I'm going to trim the top off of it. Very simple, just with the scissors, because it doesn't need to be really straight. I'm also going to trim the bottom half, which we didn't watercolor or ink. And this is where our sentiment is going to go. I'm using a simple sentiment, thank you, and I'm going to mask off the inked place, that is where we use the watercolor and the pressed flower, with a piece of scrap paper and some masking tape here. I'm gonna then ink my stamp and press it firmly down, hold it in place for 2 seconds, and make sure that the sentiment has stamped correctly. Once that is done, you're going to see the beautiful sentiment and the pressed flower right there. I'm going to place this on top of my die cut, and I'm going to add some pattern paper, and I'm actually going to further go ahead and trim the die cut because the die cut seemed a little larger for the scale of my card. I'm going to add some pattern paper that I've trimmed to size. I'm going to layer the sentiment in between them. I'm going to add a thin ribbon just to add some additional interest to the card. I'm going to glue all of these down, and once this is done, our card front is ready. Now I'm going to adhere this card front onto the prepared card with some 3D foam adhesives, and this gives a nice dimension to the card. And already the card has so many colors, you want each one to stand out individually. And that's it, our card is done. And I showed you in this video to use the Fuse Creativity system in 3 ways: to use the letterpress action, the die cut action, the press action, and also to letterpress and die cut all at once simultaneously. Thank you for spending some crafty time with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this card. I hope to see you around my blog again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.